Good morning, folks. Welcome to the 34th episode of the Matias Sports Podcast. I have Bruins team reporter Eric Russo. How are you, sir?
Good, Ken. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, no problem. Long time coming. I'm glad that we are able to make it work on both ends, especially you being busy and I'm being busy as well at the same time. But like I told you yesterday, I mean, I feel like you could just talk about your career, how you got to working for the Bruins, and what your interests in hockey were and growing up.
Yeah, it's been a long journey. Someone was asking me during the centennial celebrations how long it's been, and I said this is my 10th season and couldn't
Wow.
really believe it. And then there's a couple other seasons on there with my intern year and part-time, so over a decade now. In a couple different roles, obviously all within the same sort of area, but been fortunate to like I said, be in a couple different roles and elevate into where I am now. So it goes back to growing up here as a big Boston sports fan and Bruins fan and played hockey all my life growing up, in high school and to this day, even with our staff team over at Warrior Ice Arena every week. So still getting out there. But yeah, just always had a passion for all the teams in Boston and especially the Bruins and hockey and also for media and journalism and growing up that was sort of a second passion. So morph those two together. Studied journalism in college at Suffolk University in Boston and like I said, everything sort of lined up where I was able to get an internship with the Bruins my sophomore year, which happened to be 2013, which I'm 0 for 2 in the Cup final. So
Yeah, I
that
went to that one actually. I went to
yeah,
one of the games, the Chicago
we have
series.
that to work on. But yeah, so that was obviously a great year to be an intern and get that experience of it was a shortened year with the lockout.
Hmm.
So at first, I didn't even know if I'd have any hockey to sort of work with. So it ended up working out that the basically the day I was starting my internship was the day the team started training camp that year. So it was sort of a sprint to the playoffs that year, and then thinking gonna be done after the playoffs, and didn't really know what the playoffs would look like. And during game 7 against Toronto, it wasn't looking too hot.
Yeah.
So thought my internship was going to be over at that point, and then we end up going all the way to the final. So just for, networking and getting to know the staff and all of that, it was a great experience. That was, unfortunately the marathon bombing as well. So there was just a
Do it
lot
for the
going on.
city.
Yeah, and it
Yeah.
was a lot going on for the team and a very busy time. So, to be around and to get that experience was invaluable in a lot of different ways. And, was gone for a year after that and then came back part-time and the rest is sort of history from there.
No, that's awesome. I mean, to be with an organization 10 years and, do what you do for media and stuff like that. I mean, some people stay in what, 2, 3 years and move on to another league, another, basically another, whatever it is. Yeah, league, another basketball, football, another sport, stuff like that. But to stick with like hockey because that's been your passion since you were little, that's pretty impressive because I appreciate seeing what all the media members do, especially the team reporters and on the people like on the Globe and stuff like that on the beat too. So I mean, if I could ever get there someday, it'd be cool. But I understand it's like it's a ladder you have to climb. So going off from that, like with like team reporting and stuff, how's it being like around the players? Maybe there's some of their families and in the locker room because I do see some, interviews. I see you in the back, just basically either asking a question or basically another person asking a question from like the local stations and stuff. How's it being like around the team constantly?
Yeah, I mean it's awesome. I again as someone who grew up here and um when I started, it was a lot of the guys I grew up watching,
Hmm.
Jars and the Bergerons and Krejcis and Rasks of the world, right?
Yep.
So that's a little bit of an adjustment to make sure that you know you're professional at all times and you're
Hmm.
putting that to the side, which is difficult. It's not easy. But after a while, you get used to it. You're there to do a job, and that's it's a really cool job, and it's you have to pinch yourself at different times. But that's what it is. It's a business, and everyone's there to do a job. The players and media included. So, the reporting side of things for me these days is a little bit less than it used to be. Just because of my role now is a little more elevated. It's more of a overseeing the content and social
Hmm.
media and everything that see on Instagram and Facebook and I still call it Twitter.
Yeah, me too.
So I oversee all of that, and that's my main role. But obviously, I'm still in front of the camera as well at different times, and still doing some of the writing for the website and stuff like that. So, that's my background. That's my passion. Like I said before, I studied journalism. I worked at the Globe for almost 5 years, all through
Oh, wow.
college, covering high school sports.
Hmm.
So the writing and the reporting is near and dear to me. It's just difficult to do it as much as I did before. Given what my role is now to sort of oversee everything. So still get to do it on a regular basis, but not quite as much as I used to.
How many people do you oversee with like the social media and stuff like that? You being like the manager, like how many people do you have working under you or for you?
So our group is a little unique. Directly with me for the social and the content side, we're pretty small.
Hmm.
I oversee Elaine Cavallari, who people
Yep.
might know. She's in front of the camera as well. She does a phenomenal job with our TikTok and just our social media in general, but the TikTok especially. And then, we have our communications and PR team and then our video production team as well. So we're all one department and one group. And work very closely together on everything and every project every day. And then obviously work closely with other parts of the business as well, whether it's marketing or partnerships
Yep.
or graphic design and all of those different areas to produce everything that you see, like I said, coming from our social media channels.
Is there like many people in all those departments, or like I know you said it's like a small group, but like directly to you, it's just you oversee like a small group of people?
Yeah, yeah, it's just the two of us. Obviously social media is growing.
Hmm.
And is huge for organizations and you know, um, some teams have a much bigger group. Obviously, the setups are a little different for everybody. I would say overall, our department is probably 10 or 12 people.
Oh, wow.
So, it's a big operation. And there's a lot to be done. Like I said, we're in the same department, but there's different wings of it, with the content and the video and the PR. So, um, there's always something going on that we have to work very closely together. And I think as you can see, you know, things usually turn out pretty well for us. So,
Yep.
um, whether it's behind the B or again a TikTok or something else on social media. So, I think we have one of the best teams going. We might not be the biggest, but what we produce is some of the best.
Oh, Behind the Bee is great. I know I haven't probably seen an episode in a while, but you guys work closely. Like that's basically your production. You guys are like firsthand basically doing that.
Yeah, so we work in partnership with Mad Fish Productions on that.
Oh, Charlie Moore.
Charlie Moore's
Yeah.
group. Yep. So they do the editing and the producing, and we shoot everything.
Hmm.
You know, it's a very much a partnership that everybody has a piece in. It's a big production. It's a lot of work. I would say it's probably our obviously our number one piece of content. People know it. It's on season 12. It has a very established place in sports media, sports content.
Hmm.
I think if we weren't the first, we were one of the first teams in all of sports to have a behind the scenes TV show. So, we sort of set the tone on that. And now a lot of teams, I wouldn't say every team has one, but um, a lot of teams have their own behind the scenes show or brand, whether it's just on social media or YouTube or it's on TV. So, we're very proud of that. Obviously, it's won a number of Emmys, and
Hmm.
our fans can't get enough of it. So that's a big focus of ours every day is trying to create the best, excuse me, content possible for that, and sort of build everything, um, not necessarily around that, but a lot of what we do is with the behind the bee focus.
How's like the players, coaches, team staffers react to like being on the camera basically what 24/7? Or I mean, if it's not the game going on, you got behind the B in the locker room. So how's their initial reaction to having the camera crew in the locker room?
Mhm. Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, I think most guys that have been around are used to it. For new guys coming in that maybe haven't had that in other areas or other teams rather, it's probably a little bit of an adjustment. There's certainly times where the cameras aren't around.
Yeah, obviously.
There's it's in there quite a bit.
Yeah.
But there's times where you have to give the guys their space too. So I think we do a good job of recognizing that and trying to respect the team and the players, and maybe when there's a time to give them a break, we try to do that. But yeah, it's kind of just like fly on the wall. It's
Hmm.
I think they're so used to it that it a lot of times they don't even probably realize it or recognize it. So and that's a testament to the trust that we have from the organization to basically be embedded with the team at all times. Like our group is with the team everywhere they go. And in my tenure, that's been to China, to Winter
Crazy.
Classics,
Yeah.
to all kinds of different places. So wherever they go, we go. And like I said, we have the trust from management and the organization to do what we do, and that's a huge thing. Not every team and organization has that buy-in from management and ownership to be around the team. So the fact that we do obviously puts us in a really good position to produce not just the show, but everything that you see on social media.
Hmm. No, for sure. I mean, and you guys got a great partnership with Nessa and obviously broadcasting the games behind the B. Behind the Beans on YouTube, I believe too, right? Behind the
Yeah.
B. So it's all over social media. And especially with the graphics that you guys do for the goals and stuff like that, like goal, Marchand, whatever. It's like, what goes into that makes it so simple for you guys to just post it right on the fly? Like, is it like a pre-made thing? Or I've always been curious. I'm like, these things, like, no matter if it's you guys, the Pats, the Sox, I'm like,
Yeah.
you guys got it to a T with your crew.
Yeah, it's a huge operation, and um, our graphics team, led by Mark Majewski, who, in my opinion, is the
One of the
best
best.
in the
Yes.
business. Like his, as you can see, everything that goes out on our channels is phenomenal.
Hmm.
And him and his team do an awesome, awesome job with everything, and that's a collaborative effort too. We'll meet in the off season in the summertime and, sort of go over, what do we need this year? A lot of times it's not necessarily changing. Like we need our goal graphics, we need our game day graphics, we need um, you know, all of these different things that you see on a regular basis during a game. But there's certain things that we may add or subtract. There's a different look and feel and, not necessarily brand, but definitely a different look and feel every year. Certainly for the Centennial last year, that was a
Yep.
huge taking. Um, so yeah, we work very closely together on what things are going to look like, and once we figure out sort of what we need and what the overall look and feel is going to be, Mark and his team go to work and they create the magic that you see on social media. And yeah, most of that stuff is um, pre-made and in the bank and ready to go, so that when it happens during the game, we can just you know press post and get it out there. So, obviously there's certain things that happen throughout the year. The other day is a good example, like claiming Oliver Wahlstrom off waivers. Like
Yeah, I did see that. Yep, I
that's
clicked the
situation.
article.
Yeah, that happens, quickly in the moment. And, I have to go to Mark and say, hey, we
Can you
need
put
this
this
to
together?
happen. So, we don't necessarily have that one ready to go. That
Yeah.
that can be a little bit of a scramble at times, but
Hmm.
we try to be in the best position possible for every situation. You know, people sometimes make that comment, at when there's a trade or free agency or whatever, or somebody leaves and we have a thank you graphic ready to go, and it's like, oh, where did that come from? They already knew. And it's like, well, we don't necessarily know, but we
No,
have to
yeah.
be ready. Like
Yeah.
we know there's one of two options, with a free agent. Either he's going to resign or he's going to leave. So
Yeah.
we have to be ready for if he resigns with us, and we have to be ready if he signs elsewhere, and have a thank you graphic or something ready to go so that we don't have to scramble. Because the other side of it is too, sometimes on social media, is you get the comments like, what are you waiting for? What's taking so long? Like, well,
Oh
this
God.
is the process. So,
Yeah.
there's certain things that, take time. And like I said, that's why we try to be in the best position possible at all times and have different templates ready where we can change out photos and copy and different things, so that, when every certain situation arises, we can just be ready to roll.
No, that's great. I mean, it sucks that you get, I mean, everybody's gonna get bad feedback, good feedback, stuff like that. But when you guys welcomed Oliver Wahlstrom the other day, yeah, you put him in an Islanders uniform, it'd be like, welcome Oliver to the team. Like, you don't
Hmm.
have him in a Bruins uniform yet because he hasn't played a game in either Providence or Boston. I don't know where exactly he's going, but
Yep.
I know he's a local kid that he's coming back
Yep.
home to play because of he did the mini one-on-one with that
Yes.
quick trick. I keep seeing you guys post that, or it's all over Twitter or whatever, and
All
I'm
over the
like, oh
place. Yeah.
yeah.
Yep.
Him being as a kid. So,
Yep.
I mean, do you guys get more positive or bad feedback from fans, people inside the building? Like, how do people react to like all the graphics and what you guys do? Because it takes a lot for what you guys do, being reporters and graphics
Yeah.
and marketing.
I think, I mean, overall, I would say the feedback on what we do is very positive. You know, Obviously the feedback overall depends on how the team is performing, right?
Yeah.
Um, the comments on social media generally go with whether we lost or whether we won. So
Hmm.
that's all part of it. We try not to pay too much attention to that. But as far as, the reaction to our content and what we do and what we put out, I mean, it's we're fortunate that it's usually very, very positive, and people appreciate what we do, and the fans appreciate, the access and the content that we provide. It's the same thing internally, and yeah, it's always you know pretty positive from our end and what we do.
No, that's great. And I know I'm changing gears a little bit, but I'm going to go to the broadcasting and Nesson side.
Yeah,
Just want to talk about, what kind of relationship we had with the legendary, obviously Jack Edwards. He's moved on, retired. He's been one of the best. ESPN, Nesson, doing the play-by-play for the Bruins. And now with Judd Sirott and Brick taking over, obviously Brick's been there for a while. Just want to talk about your relationship with them guys and, what you look up to or what they've told you and how it is, honestly, on the
Yeah,
broadcasting side.
I mean, those guys are phenomenal.
And
Jack. Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, sorry. And I'm not forgetting Ryan Johnston and Bob Beers on the radio too, because
Yeah,
they're super nice guys too. I didn't want to forget them.
no, absolutely. Mention them. They're all great, and Brick and Beersy, to me, are the two best analysts in hockey. I mean, they're
Hmm.
phenomenal, and I think Bruins fans are very fortunate to be able to listen to the two of them every night. And the same goes for Ryan and Judd too. They're two of the best in what they do too. So, when it comes to Jack, I was fortunate again to work with him for pretty much a decade.
Hmm.
And that's one of the ones where it's like, I grew up listening to him
Yeah.
and watching him, and um, to be able to then work with him was a thrill. And I told him that on a couple different occasions, especially here recently, um, when we celebrated him back at the beginning of the season. But yeah, I mean, just to have him again as somebody to sort of bounce things off of and get advice from, and I'm fortunate to have a lot of conversations with him over the years, whether it was on a plane or a bus or
Yeah.
out on the road, running into him and having a drink or whatever. You know, those guys have seen a lot. They've been around a long time. They've been around this team for a long time. So, not only do you get advice maybe on broadcasting or, the TV business or whatever it may be, but you get the stories of, teams in the past and players in the past, and you get a really good feel for what they've seen and the players they've interacted with. And it's just as someone who's around the team every day and covering the team, it's you have that access to these great stories and this great information that helps you on a day-to-day basis to better understand the history of the team, and um prepare yourself for other things that may pop up as we move forward. So
Those guys must be all encyclopedias basically on their knowledge
yeah.
of the game, studying the game and stuff like that. Has there been one story that stood out to you that resembles in your mind, like, wow, Jack or so and so told me this, and it's kind of stuck with me in my tenure with the Bruins being a decade?
Ooh, that's a good question. Nothing that pops into my head right away. I
Yeah.
mean, I would say, um, Judd Sirott he is an encyclopedia of knowledge. He has so many stories, and he's been around the game for a long time. So you talk to Judd, and he'll have a new story every time you talk to him about a player from the past or someone who's in management or a coach now, and him crossing paths with them back in the day in the AHL or even prior to that. So there's just a lot of that and a lot of storytelling, and you know, Jack always had a good story or an idea or something to try to make the game better. But that's a conversation I remember with Jack one time on the road, was him just, you know, telling me some of his ideas that he had to better the game, and things like that you get to have these conversations over the course of all these years. So yeah, definitely a lot of different things, like I said, in different areas that you hear stories or you get advice on, but it's always great to talk to those guys.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, it's nice to have those guys in your corner, be co-workers really with you, even if they're on the radio or the Nesson side. But another thing I'd like to mention too, I know I'm kind of getting jumbled all over the place. Talk about you guys' relationship with the P Bruins. Obviously, I grew up watching them. I've seen Tuca, Marchand. I've seen guys like that in person in Providence. Talk about obviously them being the minor league and the AHL affiliate of you guys, and how closely you guys got a relationship with those guys too.
Yeah, no, I mean, work closely with them too, obviously. We have Jordan Kahn down in
Hmm.
Providence who does a really good job covering Providence. And he provides us with some content up here too at different times throughout the season. So yeah, I mean we're always keeping an eye on what they're doing. From time to time we'll take a trip down there, again to do some content, whether it's for Bruins Academy, our kids show, or behind the bee here and
Hmm.
there, whether it's social or the website as well. So these are the guys that are the future, right? I mean, there's guys down there right now that have been here, the Patras of the world, right?
Yeah.
So, we always have to be in tune with what's going on down there and know, how those guys are doing and what they're up to and try to provide as much of a look into what they're doing as we can because not all of our fans are as in tune as some are when it comes to the prospects and Providence and even college and juniors, right? So
Hmm.
we want to try to for the average fan that maybe doesn't stay locked in on that stuff, we want to try to provide them as much as we can, as far as keeping tabs on what the top prospects are doing and how their progression is going and when they might be ready to make that jump. So, we want our fans to be familiar with them to a certain extent when they arrive and when they get here, so they're not completely, you know, new and people don't know who the heck they are. So, we try to do as good of a job as we can to get them familiar with our prospects and that builds over the course of several years for some, and for others it's quick, right? So, yeah, we're obviously very in tune with those guys and keeping a close tab on them.
I feel like every single year they're in the playoffs, they have a great season, and all of a sudden it's like second round they lose, and I'm like, it's
Yeah.
like, the P Bruins, it's like, damn, I just want them to win the Calder because it's been since, well, like 99. It's been a
Yeah.
while since they won. So it's like I haven't seen them ever win. I was what, 5 or 6 when they won, and I was like, damn.
Yeah.
But no, going to those games is a great family atmosphere too. It's all about the kids, they make it, with the little intermission skate with the kids and stuff. And I mean, to this day, I haven't been in a long time, but I think P Bruins games are pretty fun, and obviously the big Bruins are much better because I've been to one game, but still. Um, one person that actually kind of sticks out with me that I was happy that you guys actually brought back on the coaching staff was Jay Leach.
Mhm.
He was down in Providence, obviously the head coach, left to be an assistant with Seattle. If I, correct me if I'm wrong, but he left to be an assistant with Seattle.
Yep.
Um, what has he brought back to the team, being with the organization and knowing some of these players that he probably coached out in Providence as the head coach, being under,
Yeah.
Jim starting the year and now Joe Sacco, and he's got Chris Kelly in his corner too.
Yeah. No, I think you sort of said it. Like, I think it's that familiarity and, being with Providence and coaching a lot of these guys at different times. I think he's really, I mean, he's a younger guy
Hmm.
relatively to for a coach. So I think he connects with, the players and, similar to Chris Kelly, right?
Yep.
They're not too far removed from, playing.
Playing.
They have the connections back to, again, in Chris Kelly's case, but played with Marshy, right? So there's still that direct connection to the team and to the players. So I think with Jay, that's part of it. He again, he helped develop some of these guys that are here. And that goes a long way. There's a trust factor. There's again that connection and that feel to the player is important, especially these days. So, I think when the Bruins had the chance to bring him back over the summer, I think they jumped at it because of that familiarity and um, obviously he did a really good job with Providence too. So, and I think over the previous couple of years, there wasn't really a true defensive coach or uh, you know defense coach, so that was part of it too, to have someone that was able to focus just on the defense and be on the bench and have all their focus on those guys. So, that's been his role. And he's again, I think people think he's got a bright future in coaching. So the more guys like that you can have on your staff, the better.
I know he seems like he will be a head coach sooner or later, and at the top level because he was a winger, right? If I remember when he played
He was no, he was a defenseman. Yeah.
defenseman. I'm sorry, I had the positions messed up.
Yeah.
But
But yeah,
yeah,
no, he's been a head coach in Providence, and
hmm
it's a process to get there in the NHL, and
it
he's
is.
been an assistant for several years now. So we'll see how it all turns out. But
Sticking with the staff, how's the vibe been around the team since basically the coaching change? And obviously Joe Sacco's been doing a phenomenal job, minus, a couple games, but I'm not gonna criticize the whole team. But how's the vibe been since the coaching change right before Thanksgiving, about a month
yeah,
or
I mean,
so?
I think it's been good. I mean, obviously the team played well.
Hmm.
Yeah, we can say whatever you want to say about those couple of games here to
Yeah,
start the road trip.
yeah,
Obviously,
tough.
start of a long road trip out west is not always the easiest, especially against good teams.
Hmm.
Obviously, Bruins will tell you those results were not what they're used to or what's acceptable. But yeah, overall, obviously, you know, it's been a strong start with Joe. I think fortunately, or unfortunately, when you make a change like that, it sort of gets people's attention, and gets the players to focus a little bit. I think every team is different with how long that lasts. Like
Hmm.
that little bump. Some it lasts the whole year. Like you can go through the list of teams that have fired their coach early in the year and gone on to the finals or to win the cup. Edmonton did it last year.
Yeah, they did.
We know all too well here in Boston, St. Louis did it in 2019. So,
Hmm.
that sometimes that's a good team who gets off to a bad start and is kind of stuck in the mud. That's what they need. And sometimes it works and it lasts. Sometimes it's a temporary bump, right? Like I think, after those first couple games of this road trip, people might have thought that that was the end of the little bump, that the Bruins got from the change. But we'll see. Obviously, they bounce back with, I mean, I consider maybe the best game of the year for the Bruins Saturday night in Vancouver. Just all around effort and
Hmm.
uh, just a really, really strong game all around. So, I think that was a good sign for the Bruins to bounce back the way they did after a couple of really tough games to start the trip. So, we'll see how it goes here over the next week or so into the Christmas break. But overall, like, you can see the team again taking those two games out, um, has really tightened it up defensively. I think that's been the biggest thing. That goes a long way in shoring up your game overall, is fixing things in your own end and going from there. So, to me, that's been the biggest difference. And again, whether that's a focus thing or a scheme thing, maybe it's a little bit of both.
Hmm.
But there's definitely been an improvement there overall. And again, we'll see how long. Hopefully, it lasts all the way through the playoffs. But you know, at this stage, the Bruins are going to be in a battle for the rest of the year to make sure that they're in the playoff structure and getting to where they want to be in the spring.
For sure. I mean, it's been too long. It's been what, 13, 14 years since we won, and I'm like, I've been on edge every year for them to win. I'm like, the Celtics did it. I finally get to see them win as an adult. Now I need to see the Bruins win as an adult. So, Eric, I appreciate you joining my show, and I thank you so much for you taking a little bit of time to speak with me this morning.
Yeah, no problem, Ken. Enjoyed it.
Thank you.